Libra, something big is unfolding behind the scenes. And your name is already in the plan. Welcome to Zodiac Whisper Tarot, where every message is a doorway, and today, that doorway has your energy all over it. Let me ask you something right away. Have you ever felt like something was shifting around you, silently, subtly but powerfully? As if the universe was rearranging things without telling you why, yet your heart just knew. Something is coming. If you're here, Libra, it's because you've been sensing it too. This is not a random reading. This is a sacred alignment. There is a silent plan taking shape, and you are at the center of it. Someone, somewhere, is preparing something big that involves you, and the universe is now gently pulling you into that design. It's quiet. It's deliberate. And it's starting now. Today's reading brings in the energy of 3 major tarot archetypes, each one a direct mirror of your soul's current frequency. The High Priestess, your inner knowing, the wisdom you don't speak, but carry. The Justice, your divine rulership, the karmic realignment you've long deserved. The Star, the return of a dream, the promise that your hopes were never wasted. Libra, you've always held yourself with grace even when the world was chaotic. You've kept the peace, often at your own expense. But now, the scales are tipping, not because you demanded it, but because the energy around you can no longer deny what you've earned in silence. This isn't just a new phase. It's a spiritual crossing. Your name is showing up in conversations you're not aware of yet. Opportunities are quietly being crafted with you in mind. And yes, someone is beginning to see you differently. Not because you changed, but because you finally stopped shrinking. I want you to pause here and ask yourself, what part of me has been waiting to be chosen? What part of me is finally ready to say, I deserve this? This is your moment to begin receiving without guilt. You're not just here to maintain balance for others, you're here to thrive in your own light. And Libra, if something inside you is whispering that this message is for you, trust that. You didn't land here by accident. Something Simeona has drawn you in, and what's coming next may just shift the direction of your path entirely. Before we move into the full reading, take a moment and ground this energy. Drop a comment right now that says, I claim the plan that has my name on it. Or simply write, I trust what's unfolding. Every comment, every like, every time you engage, you're sending a signal to the universe, I'm ready. Let me take a brief moment to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here. Every comment you write, every time you subscribe, you become a part of this soul family at Zodiac Whisper Tarot. And trust me when I say, Libra, you'll want to stay until the very end of this video. Because what the universe is about to reveal? It's not just power fuel, it's personal. Take a deep breath. Let the energy settle in. And now, let's begin. There are moments in life when we feel something shifting, even if we can't yet explain why. Not because something loud happens, not because we see dramatic changes around us, but because a subtle pulse begins to echo beneath our everyday routines. Libra, you may have noticed that lately, the air feels different. The rhythm of life, your leaf is slowing down in one area, speeding up in another, and in that quiet rearrangement, something sacred is forming beneath the surface. That is not random. That is not small. That is momentum beginning to build in silence. Right now, you're not the one adjusting the scales. The scales are adjusting for you. What once required your constant balance, your mediation, your quiet strength, is beginning to shift on its own. It's as if the energy of life has recognized your endurance and is finally moving on your behalf. Like an underground stream carving its way through solid stone, the movement around you is silent but incredibly powerful. It doesn't shout. It whispers. And that whisper is saying, your name is in the plan. Often, when big things are preparing to enter our lives, we feel an internal stillness first. A pause. A strange calm. It's not because nothing is happening, it's because everything is rearranging. Pieces are falling into place. Conversations you're not aware of are unfolding. Eyes are noticing you more often. Doors that were closed before are creaking open, just a little. There is a current forming. And it is gathering around you. This is the energy of alignment, one of the core principles behind the law of attraction. What you've quietly planted in your energy field, every act of kindness, every truth you've chosen to live by, every time you held on when it would have been easier to walk away, has created a magnetic field. Without even realizing it, you've been calling in what's now approaching. You didn't need to prove anything. You just needed to keep showing up as you. And you did. Now, life is responding. But it responds in whispers first. In small synchronicities. In glances that last longer than they should. In a message you receive at just the right time. And it's easy to overlook those moments, to brush them off as coincidence, but Libra, if you pause and truly listen, you'll realize these are not coincidences. They're confirmations. You've done your part. And now the world is quietly moving to meet you. To deepen your connection to this moment, take a moment for a simple self-practice. Reflect on 3 acts of goodness you've done recently, especially those no one saw. Maybe it was helping someone without being thanked. Maybe it was choosing patience instead of anger. Maybe it was staying kind even when no one acknowledged it. Write them down somewhere private. These are your spiritual seeds. And right now, they're beginning to bloom beneath the surface, in silence, but undeniably. It's easy to forget, in the busyness of life, that the small choices we make with love are the ones that ripple the farthest. This is where true miracles begin. You don't need to chase them. You just need to stay open. In a world that often rewards noise and performance, your quiet consistency has been your most powerful prayer. And it's being heard. As someone once said, He knows what you do in secret, and He rewards you openly. Whether you call that divine wisdom, God, the universe, or something sacred within you, it sees. And it answers. Not always when you want, but always when you're ready. So if you've been wondering why your energy feels different lately, why your heart feels heavier and lighter at the same time, it's because something real is approaching. You're not imagining it. You're feeling the vibrations of something meant for you. Keep listening. Keep receiving. The quiet movement you sense is the beginning of something very, very big. Sometimes, the most powerful forms of recognition come not from applause or attention, but from a quiet presence that simply sees you. Libra, your energy has never depended on performance. You were never required to prove your worth, to outshine others in order to matter. You've already been shining softly, steadily, and in a way only certain hearts can detect. Right now, one of those hearts is beginning to feel your light, perhaps for the first time. Or perhaps they've always felt it, but only now are they ready to understand what it truly means. You see, there are people who are drawn to what's loud, visible, and instant. And then there are those rare souls who are magnetized by something deeper, the kind of energy that whispers instead of shouts. The High Priestess in your reading is a powerful affirmation of this. She represents unseen wisdom, intuitive connection, and the type of spiritual radiance that doesn't need to be explained. Her presence says, you are being perceived not just with eyes, but with the heart. Someone, Libra, is sensing your depth not because you've revealed everything, but because your silence carries a frequency that speaks volumes. In astrological language, Libra often represents grace under pressure, elegance without force, and the balance between intellect and emotion. But beneath all of that is a vast emotional depth that not everyone gets to witness. The truth is, not everyone is meant to. Your spirit doesn't open for those who chase it, it opens for those who respect it. And right now, you are standing at the edge of being fully seen by someone who doesn't just notice your light, they honor it. There's something deeply moving about being chosen without having to campaign for it. In the real world, we often assume we need to speak louder, show more, do more, just to be considered. But sometimes, the most meaningful moments are born in the background. I recall a true story about a quiet woman who had worked behind the scenes at her company for years. She never asked for recognition, never tried to outperform anyone. Yet when a major leadership transition came, the CEO bypassed the obvious candidates and offered her a key role. His reason? She never had to tell me who she was. I saw it in how she carried herself. That's the kind of leader people follow without needing noise. Her presence spoke what her words never had to. That is the energy I see unfolding around you now. You may not even be aware of how deeply you're being felt. You may not know that someone has been observing you from afar, watching how you treat others, how you show up with integrity, how you remain grounded through difficult seasons. But just because they haven't said anything yet doesn't mean they aren't moved. Sometimes the heart processes in silence before the mouth finds the words. This is where your faith comes in, not just spiritual faith, but faith in the unseen. Faith that what you've been radiating quietly will reach the right people at the right time. As someone once said, God does his most profound work in silence. When we let go of trying to control how and when we're seen, we allow room for something greater to unfold, something honest, unforced, and beautifully aligned. If you've ever felt like someone was watching you gently, if you've noticed a gaze that lingered longer than usual, a compliment that felt deeper than the words used, or a moment when your intuition whispered, "They see me," that wasn't your imagination. That was connection. Take a breath and let yourself receive this. You are being seen for who you are, not what you've done, not what you can offer, but for your essence. And that, Libra, is the beginning of something beautifully real. If you've ever experienced a quiet moment where you felt seen without explanation, share it in the comments below. Let this be a space where your experience is witnessed just like you are. Lately, you may have noticed a quiet shift in how life is responding to you. Not necessarily through dramatic events or loud validation, but in subtle ways. The way someone now listens more intently when you speak, the way opportunities seem to find their way toward your name without your effort, or the way you're beginning to feel differently about what you truly deserve. Libra, this isn't a coincidence, it's the energy of balance being restored. The Justice card appearing in your reading isn't just a symbol of fairness. It's a divine confirmation that all the goodness, grace, and quiet strength you've offered to the world is now returning to you, multiplied. You've walked through so many seasons where you gave freely your time, your care, your presence without expectation. There were moments when you were the one keeping the peace while feeling unseen in your own storm. But what you didn't always realize is that those moments were never wasted. Energy doesn't disappear. It circulates. And now, that cycle is coming full circle. You are not being rewarded because you demanded it. You are being repaid because your energy spoke the truth, even in silence. Astrologically, this current shift is deeply connected to Venus, your ruling planet, moving through your second house, the house of self-worth, value, and material blessings. This placement gently, but powerfully, recalibrates your relationship with abundance and how you allow yourself to receive it. It asks, are you ready to be seen not just as kind and graceful, but as worthy and prosperous? Are you ready to redefine the value of what you offer, not based on external feedback, but on the intrinsic truth of who you are? It's common to believe we must work harder, earn more, or prove ourselves in order to deserve more. But the truth is, alignment is more powerful than effort. When you align with the belief that your presence alone holds value, that your boundaries matter, and that your voice carries weight, you naturally begin to attract experiences that match that vibration. You don't need to push to receive. You need only to stop resisting what you've already earned. If you've recently seen repeating numbers like 2, 6, or especially 1111, take that as a gentle nudge from the universe. These are numerical frequencies often associated with realignment, mirrored energy, and divine timing. The number 2 reminds us of balance and reciprocity. 6 is the number of harmony, responsibility, and healing. And 1111? That's the energetic portal of awakening, an open door. When these signs appear, they're not just pretty coincidences. They're reminders that you are in sync with something bigger, and that what is meant for you is drawing nearer with every conscious breath you take. In many people's lives, especially those with soft hearts and generous spirits, it's easy to underestimate your own worth. You give so much, and when little returns, you begin to internalize that perhaps you're not meant to receive more. But that's the old story. The new story begins with your belief. You don't have to chase it. You have to believe you're ready to receive it. Even in the most practical sense, financial freedom or recognition doesn't come from grasping tighter. It comes from learning to sit in your own value. From reminding yourself that your time is precious, your attention is sacred, and your presence is impactful. The more you treat yourself as someone worthy of abundance, the more life begins to agree with you. So if you feel like something is shifting, you're right. What's changing now is not you. It's how the world is beginning to respond to the version of you that's always been there, quiet, consistent, radiant, and finally, ready. Let yourself accept it. Let yourself rise. Because the scales are tipping, Libra. And this time, they're tipping toward you. There are dreams we hold quietly, ones we've buried under responsibility, fear, or the slow erosion of time. Libra, if you're honest, there may be a vision inside you that once felt so vivid, so alive. But somewhere along the way, it slipped out of reach. Maybe life asked too much of you at once. Maybe you felt you didn't have enough time, resources, support, or simply, you doubted whether you were ready. But just because a dream pauses doesn't mean it disappears. And just because you stepped away from it doesn't mean it stopped looking for you. The star card is a powerful, sacred signal. Its energy is gentle, but persistent like the light of a distant star you can't always see, but that never stops shining for you. It comes after darkness. It follows the tower. Which means that if you've gone through something disruptive, something that collapsed what you thought was certain, the star is the reassurance that what remains is still meaningful. It's the soul's way of saying, you're not done. Not even close. This is the part of the journey where you begin to remember something you once dreamed of, but this time, without pressure. This time, with clarity. It doesn't ask you to rush. It doesn't ask you to be perfect. It simply asks, are you willing to hope again? Are you willing to believe that just because something didn't work before, doesn't mean it won't bloom now? In astrology, the star aligns with Aquarius energy, visionary, future-focused, collective healing. And what's often forgotten is that Aquarian transformation is born not from rebellion, but from faith in a better possibility. Faith that we can begin again. Faith that what was meant for us will not pass us by forever. So if you've been feeling that quiet tug to revisit an old idea, or if something keeps reappearing in your heart despite logic telling you it's too late, listen. That's the call of the star. But what do you do with that call? You act gently, but intentionally. This is where spiritual dreaming meets practical grounding. Today, take 5 minutes and write down the dream you once left behind. Not the version you think is acceptable now, but the real one. The one that once made you excited just by imagining it. Don't edit it. Don't shrink it. Write it like no one else will read it. Because in that moment, you're not writing a fantasy. You're writing a frequency. And frequencies are how we communicate with both the universe and our own future selves. Remember this, your dreams are not here to test your worth. They are here to reflect it. You were never asked to become someone else to deserve them. You were only asked to show up as yourself fully. Libra doesn't need to transform into another sign to shine. You are already designed for harmony, for refinement, for beauty with depth. You belong on the stage you've been circling. You don't need permission to step forward. You only need to allow yourself to be seen. And if you need a moment of reassurance, take comfort in this truth whispered in quiet places across generations. The plans made for you are not to harm you, but to give you a future and a hope. Even when you doubted yourself, the dream waited. Even when you closed your heart, the light never left. The star is proof that what's yours is still yours. Delayed? Maybe. But denied? Never. So breathe, Libra. And begin again, not because you must, but because you finally can. Let the dream return, not as pressure, but as promise. It's not just possible. It's time. There comes a moment in every journey when the version of yourself you've been clinging to no longer fits the life you're being called into. Libra, for a long time, you've carried the role of the harmonizer, the one who softens your voice so others feel comfortable. The one who holds tension in your chest so that peace can settle in the room. You've mastered the quiet compromise, the graceful silence, the subtle retreat. But the universe is rewriting you now, not into someone louder, not into someone harder, but into someone more whole. You are not being asked to abandon your nature. You are being invited to expand it. To remember that your value doesn't live in how well you maintain balance for others, but in how fully you stand in your own alignment. The new energy entering your life no longer supports the version of you that constantly sacrifices your voice for the sake of keeping the peace. That Libra, though strong and beautiful, has done her part. What's unfolding now is the rise of the Libra who chooses truth, even when it trembles. Who speaks, even when it shakes. Who shows up, not just to reflect others, but to radiate her own light fully. This is a spiritual evolution, one where the soul steps out from behind the curtain and walks into the center of the stage. And that spotlight isn't artificial. It's made of your experiences, your compassion, your resilience, and the deep clarity you've gained by walking through quiet seasons of growth. If you close your eyes and visualize right now, see yourself standing in that light. The color around you is a deep, radiant blue, a color of confidence and truth. It wraps around you like a cloak of clarity. And just above your crown, a soft pearl-white glow begins to form, the color of divine honesty, of sacred knowing, of pathways being illuminated from within. You're not just being noticed, you're being remembered. By the version of you that always existed under the surface, waiting to be called forward. You may even sense it already in your body, the way your heart has started beating differently in stillness. Not in fear, but in anticipation. That's your intuition tuning into a shift in energy, a ripple in your field. Because somewhere in the unseen, something or someone is whispering your name. Not to pull you back into the old story, but to pull you forward into the center of a new one. This is the moment when you get to reclaim the parts of yourself that have always been powerful but stayed hidden because the world didn't yet feel safe enough to see them. But now, the world is ready. You are ready. And the alignment of this moment says, no more waiting for permission. No more shrinking to be digestible. You are not here to make yourself smaller for others to feel comfortable. You are here to take your place. If you've been feeling a strange stillness lately, if your body feels both grounded and alert at the same time, don't brush it off. That's not anxiety. That's your energy preparing to rise. That's the gateway opening. It's what happens when a soul recognizes it's no longer just part of someone else's story but the main character in its own. This week, surround yourself with the colors that affirm this shift: deep blue for trust in your voice, pearl white for honesty in your path. Wear them, visualize them, let them guide your choices. And when you sit in quiet moments, imagine this: you're standing in the middle of a vast, glowing stage made of energy, light pouring down over your shoulders. And from just beyond the curtain, someone is saying your name. You can't see them yet, but your heart knows. A door is opening. You don't need to knock. You just need to walk through. If you've made it this far, Libra, take a moment to breathe and really feel the truth of what you've just heard. You were never forgotten. In fact, you were being quietly chosen behind closed doors, in unseen rooms, and within the very frequency of destiny. Your story was never overlooked. It was simply unfolding in a slower rhythm, aligned not with urgency, but with divine timing. That moment? It's here now. You never had to be loud to be visible. The quiet strength you carry, the way you move through life with grace and emotional clarity, that has always been your greatest light. You've been radiating it without realizing how many hearts it's touched, how many paths it's quietly lit. This reading isn't about something you have to become. It's about something you already are, finally being recognized in the way you deserve. And Libra, you're no longer just the one keeping the balance. You are the balance. You're the one who holds the space where alignment returns, not only for others but for yourself. That inner harmony you've built through years of reflection, sacrifice, and silent growth has become your most powerful magnet. Life is not just reacting to its opening for you. So I ask you now, what are you still waiting for permission to claim? What dream, what truth, what version of yourself are you ready to step into if you truly believe the timing was right? Because here's the gentle but unshakable truth, the timing is right. This moment is not a test. It's an invitation. Don't ignore the signs. Don't minimize the shift you're feeling. You're being asked to elevate not by force, but by willingness. To open your heart wider, to trust the energy that's surrounding you, and to let yourself be guided not by fear, but by belief. Because the door you've been waiting for doesn't need to be kicked down. It was never locked. It's been opening slowly, softly, the whole time. All that's required now is that you step toward it. If anything in today's message touched a part of you that's been quietly hoping for more, I want you to anchor that energy. Go to the comments and write, I believe. I receive. I belong to what's coming for me. Or if words feel too big right now, just write, I step into the light of who I am. Because your words carry power. They are not just affirmations. They are activation. Let me remind you of this, if you're hearing this message, it's because some force wanted you to. There are conversations happening that you don't yet know about. There are doors shifting in your name. There is a form of love, support, or opportunity being protected and held. Waiting for the exact moment you were ready to see it. And now, you are. So don't doubt what is gently calling you. Keep your frequency high, keep your heart open, and trust that what's meant for you will never pass you by, not when your spirit has already whispered yes to it. Libra, you are not behind. You are not alone. And nothing you've done in love has ever gone unnoticed. Every silent offering, every unseen sacrifice, it's all becoming part of the miracle. And you, Libra. You are the one most worthy of walking through that miracle's door. If this reading resonated with your heart, don't forget to like this video, share this message with someone who needs it, and subscribe to Zodiac Whisper Tarot. This is where you are always seen, always heard, and always welcomed in the softest light the universe is sending your way. You're not just part of the plan. You are the plan. Welcome home.